Welcome back, everyone, to the Tron podcast. This is your host, Rashad Woods. Today, I have a very special guest halfway across the globe in Johannesburg, South Africa, the founder of Dreamers and Founders, entrepreneur, resiliency, and teaches kids how to be CEOs and, more importantly, business owners, not consumers. Kayshree Govender, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thanks for
I really
having me.
appreciate you reaching out to me. So first of all, like I said, I think you do incredible work. I got a chance to read, what you do. So let's talk about specifically Dreamers and Founders and get a little bit dive into your background. You're an early entrepreneur. You actually started your first business at the age of 10. Yeah.
Yes, correct. Yeah. I started with a
Yes.
dance school. So that's where we
How the
began.
heck does a 10-year-old even think of a dance school? Like honestly.
So my mom got me into dancing and modeling at a very young age. And we were performing like locally because I grew up in a very small town in Nelspruit, and we used to do cultural performances. So having that done, we used to perform for every government function, and they got us to have groups of kids. And I was like, yeah, sure, bring them along. I would love to go dance with them. And it went on years and years and years. And then eventually people were like, we want to be part of that. So that's where the whole dance school actually came about. It wasn't because, I had a vision to say, I'm going to open a dance school. It literally just happened as a byproduct of literally helping other people or teaching other people how to dance.
And so your background obviously gained momentum from that ever since, because we'll talk about obviously the story in between. If it's okay, I'll go specifically to Dreamers and Founders. So I thought what the work you did was very important because it started with a very personal story where you said, I need to get my son away from what he's doing on just his handheld. And as a father, I know exactly that same feeling. It's like, you know what? I don't have quote unquote time to do anything else. This TV or this handheld or this electronic device will ultimately be your fun time. But you realize, at a certain point that needed to stop.
That's so true. That is like spot on. And, as parents, you just like, what am I doing? How do I help this child? Because with everything happening nowadays with technology and life being just so busy, it's like the next best thing.
You go on autopilot. You go on autopilot kind of a deal. Right. You know what I mean? And so, it almost, and I don't mean to, cut you off or dominate, but it's the easy thing to do, so to speak, right? Teaching them how to actually do something takes work, time, and effort. Handing them an electronic device or a remote in their hand is the easy thing to do.
Correct. And it's something that they actually enjoy for the time being, in that moment. And I think that's where we came in, and Dreamers and Founders literally took that away to say, we understand exactly what parents are going through. We understand the struggles because this is a mom that struggled. And, I take the kids as my own. There is several of kids. The parents are just like, oh my gosh, I don't know what you've done to my kid, but like a different child completely. And I said, you know what? I understand exactly you as a parent, how you feel, because you're so swamped with work. You're so swamped in your personal capacity, in your relationship. And now you must come home to such a busy child. And, how do you feed the right activities and the right conversation to a child when you yourself is just trying to just get your daily routine, sorted?
So Dreamers and Founders, to go into the specifics of it, it teaches kids from the age of 8 to 18 to start their own businesses, which I was blown away because we're very structured when it comes to school. And I love the examples you gave. Hey, you can memorize this and pass a test and get a diploma, certificate, and that's great. But you've never actually learned how to do something, right? And then all of a sudden, when you have to pivot to that mindset, or they lose that structured environment, people can get, particularly kids, can get kind of lost, so to speak. So this is where Dreamers and Founders steps in.
100. Yeah. So just exactly what you said, but it's more than that, I think where schools and just now life in general, it's taught kids, okay, curriculum is there. But what happens to kids after that? So I go and I study and I've, come up with your degrees, and now what? I don't have a job. I don't know how to fend for myself. I'm reliant on a parent. So we are not saying, we're taking a child away from school. School is important and we encourage, to have that background. However, Dreamers and Founders is meant to support that schooling structure and the schooling career, but just better equip the child to handle the pressure and the stress of it, because if a child knows how to bounce back or how to be street smart and how to think and solve problems by themselves without having someone constantly
Hmm.
telling them what to do or help from either side, it puts them at a better position to
Right.
actually do well. Because I mean, if you think about it, when you were younger, mom and dad did not come in at every
Of course not.
struggle that you had. You went outside, you
Hmm.
played quite a bit, and that activities, kids don't have it anymore. We are seeing like it's not safe anymore to just leave a child bare feet outside, figuring
Right, right.
life
And we've
out.
actually, because it's kind of crazy, we've gotten become more nurturing when in reality, even though technology has advanced, we get more, they sometimes lack social skills as well too, or practicality, because they don't have the luxury of being able to actually go out and make a conversation, talk and interact and things like that. So when it comes to dreamers and founders, do you have like a mentor section where you have business partners come in, or mentors of CEOs, successful business owners, etc., talk to children about their successful endeavors or potential successful endeavors?
100% we do. We have an entire community of very successful entrepreneurs that have made millions and have
Mhm.
lost it all. Words of encouragement to show them what they are capable of, but also if they don't follow the right steps, if they don't, protect the income and, different ways of not just going there and blowing it up. And, so we've got all amazing CEOs on the platform that come share their wisdom, share hours of just pure, that servant leadership that they give back to these kids. Is absolutely
Beautiful. Is it
amazing.
all remote over the internet, or I know you started in Johannesburg in South Africa, or whatever city it may have started in? So I don't want to say specifically Johannesburg, but did it grow organically to where it's more over the internet with mentorship? Because obviously that's very successful now. But do you do locally too? Just how do you reach people?
Yeah. So we've got an online platform whereby all the courses and the webinars get run. Uh, and then in terms of in-person events, so we host twice a year, like a summer camp
Beautiful.
kind of vibe. We choose different locations and parents can come along with their kids, or if they just want to send the kids, that's
Hmm.
also perfect. The whole reasoning behind that one is to physically build the business
Hmm.
with the children. So before they leave that camp, the child will have a fully fledged
Right.
working business, and also to ensure that the child has practical skills. For example, we would take them into sort of we call it like
Hmm.
a felt school, which basically means that they go out in not a safari, it's like
Right.
out in nature, and we teach them how to do a fire. We have conversations and leadership camps
Hmm.
at the fire. We teach them how to make their own food, just a little bit of building them
Right.
as children, because some of the parents are so busy and so caught up in their life that as much as they would love to do this, they just don't have the time and the
Right.
capacity to do it
Right.
for the child. So this is where we come in and we help and we assist, and we also show children the importance of parents and what parents go through. Just like how a child can go through a lot, so
Right.
can a parent. So it builds a relationship and the bond between a parent and a child, and they can understand
Hmm.
better. And it actually becomes more loving, and they become, more
Right.
understanding towards a family dynamic
Right. Well, I
situation.
thought was very interesting. I listened to a previous interview you did on the Chris Voss show, and it was essentially, a building block to other things that they could be interested in. Because you'll see often that, and you'll hear successful stories of a kid who wasn't attentive in school, wasn't very good at sports, but then suddenly when they got handed the tools or became driven to start their own business or their own journey, suddenly the attention span is completely like, you're like, where did this person come from? And so it gets the parents involved too. What's the curriculum like when it comes to, because there's lots of different things you have to cover in a short amount of time, and sometimes just kind of give us an overview. Is there sessions and courses?
Okay, so we're hosting a free masterclass on the
Hmm.
26th of June. That in that masterclass, we're literally going to teach the child how to build confidence, because that's
Right.
the first step to actually getting a child to understand what's entrepreneurship about and who they
Hmm.
are as a person. So we would teach them that. We would teach them how to spot and how to get an idea, because a lot of kids, don't know really what's entrepreneurship about. How did they go about
Hmm.
getting an idea or a business? Where does it all
Correct.
start? So we've got the foundation steps of that, and then we go further from getting a business, solving, and that would mean they finding a problem, they
Right.
solve the problem. And from solving the problem, we then create a business and we show them how to
Mm-hmm.
create the business. And then we go further on from there. We teach them how to pitch it, how to
Mm-hmm.
sell the idea. And during our courses, we would actually do their first sale for
Wow.
them. So they would have an idea of what's really going on, what is expected of them,
Mm-hmm.
um, and
No, you're fine.
and how they would carry it through. And then it doesn't stop
Right.
there. We teach them making their first sale. What happens? We teach them how to do their money, for example, how to
Right.
price a product, how to
Right.
get profit from a product, what to do with profit, and how to grow that
Absolutely.
business. And then
Go ahead. No, you're fine. Go ahead.
sorry, yes. So in the course, we teach them also as kids, in terms of discipline, what to do
Mm-hmm.
now after that. Because once a kid has money, a lot of people are like, oh, my child's got attitude
Right.
now. So there is that discipline that's
Right.
taught to them. And then we go further to, developing further and seeing which
Mm-hmm.
level they at. And then they reach their first $100, they reach their first $1,000, and then it's just a gradually growing process with
It's
them.
beautiful.
So we're running something over the school holiday because a lot of parents would be, what is my child
Mm-hmm.
doing on the holiday? This is the perfect time to get
Right.
them involved, because what are they doing? They've got all the time in the world. Let them start something that could ignite their personality and just fuel it in the right direction to get them in a good
Right.
flow
And,
of.
and not only that though, but like they'll find other like-minded children as well too. So like, we gravitate towards ultimately who we really are, right? And so oftentimes, if you want to be negative, it's not hard to find negative people, particularly when it comes to the internet, right? And so you will ultimately find that avenue where kids are gonna, hey, I thought I'm unique. I can't really fit in my peer circle, but then you get into something like this, and all of a sudden kids are like, oh my gosh, there's so many more kids like me than I thought that like these particular things. So they're starting at a young age. They get an idea, and then they kind of have that spark of how they want to bring it to market. Obviously, I've seen where you said you have people as young as 7 years old, which is amazing because when you're curious and as a kid, you're not thinking about failure. You're not thinking about test market. You're just thinking about this works. Other kids should like it. So it's actually like in a way successful or helpful very much because they're not thinking of failure. They're just thinking about whether people like something or not. And then the business ultimately becomes successful along the way.
Yep, that's spot on. So the other thing is, we always teach kids that it's
Mm-hmm.
okay to fail. As long as you're failing forward and it's leading you
Right.
to success. Because success to me, success to you is
Correct.
two different things. We do not associate success with just
Right.
monetary value. And it's important for kids of various backgrounds to understand what it
Right.
means to them, because you can just be
Mm-hmm.
happy. That's enough for me. But I've got to see some kind of work, some kind of effort. And then, we would know how to get it out of your child. We would know how to push them, where to not push them. We've got very strong team in terms of
Mm-hmm.
the psychology behind it. So they support the kids extremely, extremely well, just to give them support structure, whether it's in the household, in school, just amongst friends,
Mm-hmm.
amongst peers. So that's also a really great thing to
So
have.
here's a good question for you. Do you have them particularly when they're inventing things? Because I heard from the CEO from Lowe's, like he was telling people who are pursuing the white collar fields, he's like, hey, you're better off being by the cash register at this point because they can automate a lot of things that the C-suite can quote unquote do. Do you tell kids like, hey, it's better to go towards things that are automated, artificial intelligence, things that assist more with the technology sector or customer experience, so to speak, as opposed to other fields? And I say that because there's a shortage of people who are like electricians, plumbers, and he, the CEO of Lowe's. I don't know if you're familiar with that in South Africa. It's a large retailer
Yeah.
for home improvement. But do you gear kids towards this is the growing field that has opportunities?
So we do have a panel whereby kids go through a process where we would see
Mm-hmm.
what they're good at, what they do like, and we try them in different fields. We'll show them, where their strengths are, where their weaknesses are. Because remember, a weakness is not a bad thing. because sometimes they can push through that weakness, and that can be their
Right.
biggest idea, because they are the ones that understand all the problems that go
Right.
with that weakness. So we would explore with the child, and we have various options available to the children to basically say, you could try this, you could try that, and we
Mhm.
will try you out. If that's not working for you,
Mhm.
that's okay. We go on to
Right.
the next one. But we will not discriminate a child, especially if a child feels that they want to, for example, do coding, or they want to be in
Got it. Got
robotics,
it.
or, we've got the correct structures to show them
Yes.
how to do it. Sometimes, kids want to do something and it's beyond them, because at a later stage, I think, they've sort of had it
Hmm.
in their mind that this career makes so
Right.
much money and they have to go in that line of work. And once they start seeing it and, practicing and going through the process, it sort of comes back to them and they are like, okay, I've actually found
Right.
something better and something that excites
Right.
me, and that's what
Right.
they end up loving and end up doing.
So
So, yeah, we do have the correct
how
structures
did
in
your
place for
company
them.
grow? How did it go from the kitchen table? You said it's back of a cereal box with your son. So how does it go from that to, hey, tapping somebody on the shoulder? Is your kid interested? Did you like, where did it start community based? And did it kind of just grow?
It was a tough journey.
Okay.
It was a really tough journey, because what I did was, in South Africa, a lot of people don't believe that kids can open
Hmm.
businesses, number one. So I tried and tested with kids in South Africa. And I think I didn't choose my battles wisely, because I chose proper
Hmm.
rural areas. So it was these kind of concepts were not
Hmm.
acceptable. And people were just like, no, what are you doing with my child? So I said, listen, I'm going to do this for free. I would just like some time
Hmm.
with your child. And a lot of people were just like, no, I'm coming to sell their child, or, when you first get into it, because,
Skepticism.
but luckily I pushed.
Yeah. Right.
Yes, correct. So I pushed through that. I hosted classes, and I think the parents were amazed to see what their
That's
children came
beautiful.
home with.
Are you integrating yourself with community colleges or local educational departments, schools, and say, listen, this can be a complementary tool as opposed to a standalone service? I listened to some examples, again on that podcast you did where, and this isn't a knock on school counselors or career counselors, but they're like, hey, you need to get these grades just to get into this college, or you need to, it's all geared towards passing a test so that way you can go to the university or college or trade or the next step. But somebody says, well, I don't want that. And then there's no tools around them. So did you find that this is a complementary tool in the educational systems?
So definitely it would be a complementary tool, because I mean, when I was growing up, I wasn't the best in
Mm-hmm.
school either. Although my parents pushed me and the teachers pushed me, but it was like I dreaded school, to be honest. But it was just the tick box that you needed to get through. Everybody was like, no, she's not going to excel.
Mm-hmm.
She's not going to excel. Like I passed, but it wasn't like, wow, out of this world, as opposed to when I got involved in businesses. And exactly with kids, there's a lot of kids that can share the
Right.
same sentiment. And schools, we would like to
Mm-hmm.
partner with schools, we just haven't gotten
Right.
there as yet. But if there is any schools that would love to just know about us, or want to try us out and let us
Right.
come and just offer it as a service
Mm-hmm.
in the school, we'd be
Well,
happy
I
to do
think that
so.
because of the access availability now, children obviously, can look up YouTube on their own, can look up on the internet on their own, and it's a very open market to be able to kind of segue yourself into the field of your choice as opposed to having it dictated to you than it was when you and I were growing up, where you kind of just say, okay, your degree will take care of everything else you have in life. So I think that that's a beautiful tool that you utilize. So how global is your reach? I know that's in Johannesburg, but you've had opportunities and people from other countries. So how far does your company reach?
So at the moment, we are in 7
Wow.
countries. So we're in the US, UAE, we're in the UK, and many
Beautiful.
others. So we have explored quite a bit. We're just expanding as
Hmm.
it's going along, and I think the more people get to hear about us and get to experience it, and that's why we're hosting this free masterclass to say, bring the kids.
Yeah.
It is free. really let them, get hyped up, see what the difference would be in a child, and then you can make a decision
as
from
opposed to
there.
just watching the next music video or a YouTube short clip, right? Absolutely. So
Correct.
if you have time for that, you have time to be able to grow your life, because at the end of the day, entertaining videos will always be there, but the opportunity to start your business may not, right? Which is a wonderful thing for sure.
100%. And not only that, if kids can pay for their own games, if kids can pay for their own um, shopping or new laptop or whatever
Right.
it is, don't you think that child is going to appreciate
Of
it
course they would.
way more?
Absolutely. Because then they'll have to ask permission from mommy or daddy's debit or credit card. Right? So they can say, obviously parental supervision is big. So, for everybody's listening, make sure you know what your kid is buying. But at the end of the day, if they're like, hey, I want this cool t-shirt, like, and it's $75, ta-da, have a nice day, right? So to speak. They earned it with their own money, which is a beautiful thing. Here's an interesting perspective. I'm a parent. I see my kid is quote unquote goofing off all the time. And I'm like, I got to find the right avenue. What would make Dreamers and Founders the most, I need to be with this particular avenue that's going to be best suited for my kid? Your track record, your reach. I'm just curious, how a parent would make an informed decision.
Okay, so in terms of our track record, every child that has come through, okay, we're going to say we're going to take 10 kids. For every 10 kid that has come to us, 8 kids have gotten already successful businesses running.
Beautiful. That's a beautiful track record.
And that's purely because, we've placed the right structures and for every child to happen. But some kids would be a little bit slower in terms of execution. And that is okay. So it's not to say they do not, or they're not going to have their business. It just means that they're going to take a little bit longer than, the class that goes ahead. Right. So we do take, in terms of our one-on-one private coaching, we only take 10 to 15 children in a slot.
Got it. To not overwhelm and have size issues.
In that slot. And the reason, correct, because we don't want to overwhelm kids. We want to give direct attention to the children. I don't want, it was never created to just be a mass production and off. I want to give individual attention, and my team and I are amazing, even if I must say so myself, but we give children dedicated attention. We sit with the actual business. We craft the funnels for them, and they love it. We craft a signature message for them, a pitch where it's not just, oh, you know what, here's something, go figure it out how to make it your own. We make correct.
Tailored. I like that. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I was just teeing in my head.
And so even after that, there's a whole process of just making sure we check up on the children. There's motivation for the children. There is, like extreme support structures, whereas anyone else or another program would give your child a very theory-based approach. Where with us, it's very practical because we understand that children have busy minds and, they can only grasp to a certain level. I cannot throw theory at them and expect them to have results. I want to make it fun, and they love it. So we include a bit of dance, a bit of music, just to, get them up and going, but to get ideas flowing, because it's very important for us to get their imagination and their creativity side of their brain active so that we could bring out the best in them. Because if they're bored of
not gonna work.
Of a course or lecture that I'm giving, for example, you're going nowhere, and I think with us, we're super fun with the kids. And the team is amazing. Everybody loves them.
What size is your team?
They've just built relationships. So we've got a team of about 80 to 100 people. That's dedicated for sections for the kids.
So you grew fast. This was almost like people were like, oh, thank goodness this actually exists because now I can contribute. That's wonderful. So, and this is year-round offered, or is it, when it comes to your, I know you have your master class, you have something coming up in a few days, but is this something that people can take year-round if they say, hey, I want to be in this in September, I want to be in this for Christmas, December season? Is this something you guys offer year-round?
Yeah, so we have different packages for throughout the year. However, you can decide which one you want to do, or if in terms of financing it or purchasing it, they could send us an email or pop us a message, and we could work something out that they do the course and the payments would be done at a later, because like I'm saying, we just want to make sure that the
That's
kids get the
amazing.
benefit. We're not so
Yeah.
focused on the money, and at the end of the day, everybody needs to make a good profit to ensure that our daily bills are paid and our staff is paid. But that's not our goal, and that's
Hmm.
really not our focus. Our focus is making sure that we can help
I think that's
kids of
wonderful
today.
work. I think that's amazing. And I love the fact that you're trying to get them at a young age where their mind is still curious about things, because then it'll become organic and natural for them. Sometimes we can get older and then we become less adapt to change. We become less likely to want to try new things because we're kind of quote unquote baked in our ways, so to speak. So it's good that you've gotten them where, hey, this is just another level of curiosity. And then, plus kids like to tell other kids what they're doing, and they're very vocal, they're very social, right? It's very, and then they find kind of what they're great at or what they're very good at, so to speak, right? And it becomes something that's a part of who they are. So my question is, I ask this to everybody: where can people find you?
So on Facebook, we add Dreamers
Mhm.
and Founders. On Insta, we are Dreamers and Founders. TikTok, it's Dreamers and Founders. On YouTube, it's
Yeah.
just Kayshree. And I've got some free content. It should be uploaded before Thursday. If they just want to go through some of the content, it's
Hmm.
very quick snippets, so they can just learn a few things. But yes, if they could join us, it's going to be
Yeah.
massive. So they must click on the link. If they log onto
Mhm.
our Facebook page, they would see it is, or they can go on the website. It's
Mhm.
www.dreamersandfounders.com. It will give you all the information about the
Mhm.
masterclass, and yeah, they can sign up and link themselves and bring their
That's
kids
beautiful. And
along.
ultimately, the best way to kind of live, is today was tomorrow. So whatever you think about starting tomorrow, today is that day, because all you're going to do is punt it infinitely. So I tell you what, I'm very excited. I got a chance to check out your website, listen to other podcasts, and I think the work that you've done to inspire the next growing minds is fantastic. And sometimes personal experience can lead to drive and innovation. So I really appreciate you carving out time out of your busy schedule to be on the Tron podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It
I
was
appreciate
amazing.
that. Kayshree Govender, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate you being on.
Thank you.